For those of you who were looking for a quiet day heading into the 3-day weekend, go back to bed. You know how we talked about the market making highs or lows for the week on Friday? Well, we've already made a new low for the day, and who knows how low we can go. Trump, Trump, Trump speak last night, this morning, roiling the markets. Retail disaster out there. Probably only get worse with this tariff news. Folks, it's going to be a wild day on pre-market prop. Let's get it started.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, couple major legs down here, down 85 handles, 57.71, just off the low of 61.50. Folks, there's nothing in here until 57.34. The buck taking a hit, down 71 cents at 99.13. TLT comes down to multi-year lows. Flight to quality up 88 cents, 85.29. Crude hanging out, down 63 cents. USO 65.61. Gold back in focus, up 579, 308.85. Silver SLV flat 30.05. Bitcoin, what a great couple days, peeling back $1,800 at 109,620. Triple D, triple D, triple D. What can you say about this market except gotta pay attention to the headline. The headline-driven market is an understatement.
Man. He's the tariff man. It's what he is. He likes the tariffs. Market has come back so far from the lows. He backed off on the tariffs, not because he changed his mind, because the stock market tanked and he was worried about the market and he was worried about the bond market. He was worried about the reactions. The stock market has come all the way back up. And he's like, now we can get tough again because we obviously have, that play room. Don't have to worry about the markets being and breaking down to new lows here. And, the markets, capital markets collapsing. So he's going to get tough here. He came out with purpose here this morning. Obviously, first headline was the Apple headline here, which we might as well just dive into right now. Trump threatens that. I don't have it actually in front of me. Brentster, are you in the background? Do you have the actual tweet?
I do. I have it.
Read it.
It's pretty simple. Despite Trump's wall, I'll give you that second. Apple shares are lower after Trump. I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple that I expect their iPhones that will be sold in the U.S. will be manufactured and built in the U.S., not India or any place else. If that is not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, this was a retaliation to Tim Cook and Apple moving ahead with a $1.5 billion India expansion via Foxconn to boost iPhone production. Tit for tat, and Apple goes splat.
So that's Apple. Now we're going to do all the news and we'll come back and talk technicals on Apple in a second. But then on his Friday morning rampage here comes out, I am recommending a 50% tariff. This is 20 minutes after the Apple tweet. It says, I am recommending a 50% tariff on the European Union starting June 1st. Not 10%, 50%. And then the market got the shit kicked out of it. Like big time. So we were down. So on that Apple headline, we dropped about 15 points. And I was looking at Apple down 2.5%. I was like, really? I'm like, that's all? I'm like, this is kind of bad. So I actually had some Amazon long. I had some SPY long. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just dumping this. I'm going to sell in the hole here. We were down 15 handles. And you can show the SPY, Joel. Like we went down
I got it up there.
Around 7:30. And I'm like, I don't think we're down enough for that Apple headline. So I sold my Amazon, I sold SPY, and I went to the bathroom. I came back from the bathroom and I'm like, huh? We dropped another 50 handles right after I sold. So I'm glad I sold before I went to the bathroom as opposed to after. But I just looked at it, I was like, I don't think we're down enough. I sold Amazon at 202.25, 196, 5 minutes later. Bad news, man. Bad news. So does buy the dip emerge here again? That's the question. It seems to always emerge. But man, this is why we went down 20% in the 2-week period in April. He's full on back on the rampage again here. So is 1.5% enough? I don't know. I'm not buying SPY. We'll see what's said next. Besson's going to be on CNBC or Bloomberg. I think Bloomberg at 11:30. See what he has to say. But holy mackerel. What a disaster.
There's nothing in here. I mean, I'm just, and I was looking at
So
this.
far.
Yeah, actually, I didn't have anything like below, I thought, oh, we'd probably, quiet day. We'll hold Thursday's low, get a little bit of a rally. But I mean, there is air in here. And if you want a daily low to lean on, it's another 30 handles lower at 57.34 and a quarter. And that's just here. But we are coming from here. We are coming from 48.32. I mean, this is what a kick in the what to the markets. I don't know what I mean. If you're buying the dip here, do it very, 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 very cautiously here because we
I
are
don't
in.
want to be a hero. Like you can. Maybe we bounce. We've been bouncing. There's money
We
managers who are
always are so.
underinvested. But all the worries that were there in April just reemerged, and the S&P is much higher than it was at the beginning of that. So we talked about this, why, I've raised cash up, and I've talked about this relentlessly in the STN rooms. People are like, well, when are you buying stocks? Let's buy some stocks, in your long-term portfolio. And I was like, I'm kind of comfy. I'm 35% cash. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be easy back to the all-time highs. I think, we're going to have inflationary pressures in the second half. I've said on this show, I don't think there's any rate cuts coming this year.
Nope.
So there's lots of reasons to think like we've come a long ways. There's lots of reasons to book profits. Those reasons became very apparent this morning. So I think on rips, I think I'm lightening up. I think you're still selling into rips here now. This is not good that he's now full-on tariff man again.
And it's not July.
It never went away. The problems of tariffs never went away. Never went away.
And then now it's not July 4th. All of a sudden, Liberation Day. Now it's what? A week from today is the 30th, right? The end of the month. So the first was what? Going to be on the weekend, right? When the things are supposed to. Now, who knows what can happen between now and then? But everything is just, nothing, just a moving thing. Someone said in here, just keep buying, nothing new here. You need to read the art of the deal. Well, tell us what you're buying. We'll join you here. I think you're new to the chat here, Veruggies. Yeah, keep buying. Go ahead. There's a lot of stuff to buy out there.
There's a lot of new here. The new is the market was pricing in like we're going to get tariffs a lot lower. 10% tariffs across the board is likely where we settle out. The market thinks that. That's why we came back as much as we did. 50% is not 10%. 25% to a specific company is getting more aggressive. He hasn't been talking about specific companies, like tariffing you directly, like picking on you. And doing it through social media. Like talking and fighting this out through social media. Like totally opening and playing his hand. Very transparent. So lots to worry about here. And valuations are high. And we've had a gift rally, folks. We've had a gift rally. And I think there's going to be bounces still because there's money managers who are underinvested. But man, you're looking at this morning and thinking, this is a good dip to buy. I'm going to back off and say, maybe they do because they've been buying every dip. But if they're ever not going to buy a dip, this is going to be the one.
Okay, it wasn't all bad. I mean, for some
let's talk
sectors,
technicals just quickly on Apple because Apple. We'll go back to it for a second here. Apple is in the eye of the storm now. He's mentioned them directly. Apple was not participating in the recent rally. Apple really
Not at
hasn't
all.
gone up nearly as much as the other stocks. So there's been worries that maybe Apple, with their iPhone production, and we know, there's been, as Dan Ives that came out with the case that if the Apple iPhone is made in the US, the cost of the iPhone will be approximately $3,500 from its current $1,000. Are we ready for that kind of increase on the Apple iPhone? That's what Dan Ives, you can say, okay, who's Dan Ives? Dan Ives follows Apple very closely, knows Tim Cook very well, did the math. He's the one that said that. It's common sense that, hey, you got somebody working for $2 an hour at Foxconn over in Asia. We're not going to work for $2 an hour here. A lot of labor in there. It's labor intensive building those things. So
I'll give you the technical.
If Apple has to build their iPhones in the US, the price is going to go up dramatically. That also means it's probably less of an upgrade cycle, like you think about everybody always upgrading all the time. You're going to upgrade for $3,500? Probably not.
No way.
Probably going to hold on to it for a few more years. They're probably going to sell less iPhones. This is really, really bad for Apple if this holds. If this is like all of a sudden there's a 25% tariff. And Apple, believe me, they're going to pay the 25% tariff over coming and building these manufacturing facilities because they'd be better off just paying the 25% tariff than building these factories in the US. I'm saying it right here on the show. Apple will not build the iPhone in the US. They won't. So they're going to eat the tariff. They're going to pass it on to the consumer.
Well, we can get to the retail news later, but that's notwithstanding the fact that how long does it take to build a factory?
4 years.
Okay.
4 years.
How are construction
But if
costs?
Donnie Jr. gets in 2028, then you're still going on with the same thing. So there's lots to consider there too. I don't know. We obviously 2028 is a long ways away. But Donnie Jr., they were saying the other day, is he going to run? And he's like, he said, anything's possible. Tariffs are here to stay, folks. It's a slap in the face to the market today. It's a slap in the face to the buyers who have been saying we're past the tariff tantrum. We are not. It got kicked down the road. Nothing changed. So the tariffs are here to stay. Inflation, folks, is coming. Walmart has said it. Amazon has said it. He's saying, Trump said, eat those tariffs yourself. They're not going to eat it. Companies don't operate at losses. They're not going to eat it. They're going to pass it through. Inflation is coming.
It's what the bond market's been trying to tell us all week. You're getting a little reprieve here with I don't know what kind of flight to quality it is, but TLT up 83 cents. For technicals, for Apple, there are a pair of lows in this current area that we're trading at, 193.25. Still feeling kind of heavy. If you want the next daily low, 189.81. If we can hold this area, April 21st, that was your low. So that could be another target. That would have Apple down over $10. I don't know how many times you've seen Apple down, $10. Maybe during the April. But yeah, down 4%, down almost 3 times as much as the market. Keep an eye on your pre-market low, which doesn't seem to be in yet. And it all depends where you're playing. And if you have some puts, some weekly puts that expire, well, you could roll them. If you just want to lock in some profits here, maybe look at 190. But Apple was just it was having a horrible week. I know the market didn't have a great week, but it was just lagging. And now you filled the gap and come down even more. So a nice juicy target would be the 190 area that supports the low. There's going to be rallies. There's going to be rallies. The S&P is going to be, have 30, 40 point gyrations to the upside. We'll see how much Apple rallies on that, but don't think there's much of a chance to fill that gap from yesterday. Now the 200 just becomes a huge level, 2 lows in that area. So Do we want any more technicals on I mean that's about all we can do on Apple. I told you the S&Ps next
Yeah.
daily low is 30 handles lower. What else do you want to take a
I
look
mean,
at?
just think about all the tariff stocks again that were impacted directly, and think about the other ones. Like, think about what is tariff proof. That might be what you want to look at a little more this morning here, because I know there's a lot of stocks just getting thrown out here, tossed away. Netflix has been a hiding place in the past. Spotify has been a hiding place in the past. They could be hiding places here again, although they're selling everything across the board here right now. So there's really no mercy here this morning, which makes perfect sense when you think about what just happened. Amazon obviously going to be rough. Meta's rough. Wow, it's carnage. Like we're looking, really tech again. Some of the AI trade could be okay. Not Apple though, because it's in the eye of the storm here.
All right, so it wasn't all negative. The nuclear trade. We
Yeah,
got that came out. That came out yesterday. A lot of beneficiaries here, and what's the catalyst?
it's Trump, the only person that matters to the stock market. That's it. Trump is a report that Trump is going to sign an executive order to boost nuclear. And all the nuclear stocks just blasted off last night. Like they could not stop buying them. The algos went wild. Oklo's the first one you think about, OKLO. That traded up last night to over $48, Joel. I don't know how high you
Over
saw it.
48. Over 48. Can
How
you
was it?
a little bit higher? 49.50.
Trade up to almost $50 last night. It was up 10 points. It's given back 2/3 of that rally thanks to the Trump tweet this morning. 2/3 of that rally just gone. Poof, see you. So it was up 25%. It's up 8. NNE, another one. That was up a lot more. It's up only 7% now, but NNE was up over $33. It's now up $2. So it was up over $5. Now it's up 2. So it's given back over half of its gains as well. We just go through the list. CCJ was trading up substantially last night as well. Still up. Canadian Cameco up 5%. It was up more, giving back a lot of the gains here too. You can see the fall. URA is an ETF, uranium ETF. You can go into URNM. That's another uranium ETF. All these stocks ripped like killer high. SMR was another one. Up huge last night. Up huge last night, SMR. Over $30. It's at 27. So they've given back half the gains. To be expected. To be expected.
Yeah, I think we got most of the stocks in there now, and we don't have time to go through all of them individually. But just look at the daily highs, see where they group up, and I see this SMR try and throw out the high there. It did trade over 30, but I'm looking at two high. You had one low before you broke down at the $28 area, a couple highs at that area. So if you're looking to go back to the pre-market high. Let's catch a bid above $28. Constellation Energy, wow, that got up to 309. Back up in this area. Not much up there. Next daily high to come and play. Ooh, there was a high there at 310 too. Not much here. Not a consolidation, a little bit of a breakout, but not much in there. And in CEG, next daily high that comes into play. Yep, it's 310. That kind of goes with the pre-market low. And the last one before we move on, SMR that traded over $30. Just that's probably some 8 o'clock prints. Last night traded up to 30, 35. Or we already did that one, $28 area. So, whoo, what? All right, are we done? Are we done with the tariffs? Should we go to some earnings now?
Stick. No,
Which
no, we're not done. Sorry, you're trying to move me too fast. So other stocks in the nuclear, obviously just the energy trade altogether. CEG, the big ones you think about. VST, I had a good trade on VST last night. That's come all the way back down, unbelievably. And also G Vernova, which is GEV. Those were all up substantially last night. Look at GEV, might be the best one to look at. It's 476 this morning. It's 461. Gave it all back. So I mean, do you start nibbling on some of these? Maybe. But with the markets tanking like it is, there's a good possibility these things go red here today. So, maybe they're on your shopping list. Maybe with this nuclear bill going to get signed that they're going to get a pop here again. But right now, the market's selling first and asking questions later, and it's looking for anything to sell.
This one's almost back to scratch after making a new all-time high yesterday. So Dennis gave you a good number there. See if you can hold the close, you hold the close. You go back and there's nothing in here, right? Because you made a new all-time high yesterday. Use 464.70. That was your high from yesterday. Forget that it. Try and block out of your mind that it went to 476. That's the all-time high GE Vernova. Wow, those GEs, man. Holy mackerel. I guess the only one is what's the health one?
GEHC. I was the
Yeah,
best split up ever.
I know.
General Electric, it ignited everything. Like GE was in the gutter, the worst thing ever. They split off GEHC and GEV, and the stock has just become the best thing ever. It's unbelievable. Financial engineering works for once, Joel, and that worked huge. The split up
Yep.
of all those companies. Wow. Lots, just looking here and, digesting. And obviously, there's still money managers who are underinvested. So keep that in mind. I don't think we go straight down, but I do think on rallies here, we got to think like, man, there's been a lot of risk capital chasing here lately. This is why we don't chase. I mean, Bitcoin here this morning as well as selling off. We haven't talked about it, but Bitcoin's almost you'd think would be the flight to safety, but because it's come so far and it's a risk asset, it gets sold off too. I mean, we've said that for a long time. Bitcoin's like a NASDAQ stock. And you can see bottom in April and then, straight up with the overall market. Definitely positive correlated with the NASDAQ. So just keep that in mind there too. But I just, we haven't even looked at the IWM here this morning, Joel. You think the S&P is bad. The IWM just got harpooned down way more than the S&P. All those small companies, tariffs are not going to help them either. So as much as it's going to hurt Apple, it's going to hurt a lot of smaller companies that maybe not as easily can pass those costs through to the end consumers. You got to think like you're selling something, you're buying over, maybe overseas, maybe buying some stuff in China, trying to make a business happen. You're kind of maybe even a cash burn situation, a lot of these companies, and all of a sudden you got tariffs to deal with. It's a tax. It's what it is, folks. It's a tax, it's a tax on the people who are buying the products. You're importing into the U.S., it's a tax on the U.S. It's what it is.
Well, let's stick on how tariffs are affecting companies, and Deckers gets absolutely decked here. The earnings report, not that bad, but you know what? I could give you that. They beat a buck versus 59, the slight beat on the sales guidance. 62 to 67 versus 81. Sales, they whack sales 890 to 910 versus 925. Given the macroeconomic uncertainty related to evolving global trade policies, the company will not be providing full year guidance for fiscal 26 at this time.
This is the story where companies are very uncertain about where we're going. So it's very hard to give guidance. The market, the silver lining market has been just so forgiving of all of this, where they're like, okay, well, they're not giving guidance. That's okay. We're seeing it again and again and again, though. Eventually, they're not going to be forgiving. And maybe in Decker's case here, they're unfortunately one of the first that they're not going to forgive. Stock has been in the gutter. It's been a disaster. Place where money goes to die in the last couple of years because the stock was $223 at the beginning of the year. In 2025, it is now 101. It is down 60% from the highs. That's an incredible sell-off.
And you're almost back to the low of the move. You are almost you are now. If you like nice round numbers and you wish you would have bought this at 10026, your April 21 low, well, you might get your chance, folks, because we are trading at the lows of the pre-market session. 101.51. Well, actually, there was a couple other lows in that area as well. So 99 to 100 is potential support. And the low of the move on that April 4th day, 93.72. That's for Deckers. So Deckers gets decked, and another stock that was um, hanging out at the kind of near its all-time high. If you want to, not split hairs on this one. Ross Stores, Ross Stores here. Well, what do? They beat 147 versus 144. Beat on sales 5 billion, nearly 5 billion versus 4.97. Ross Stores sees a buck 40, buck 55 versus buck 65. Down goes Frazier. And here we are. Low of the moves, not as bad. Trading on the lows of the pre-market session. Folks, we're right back here. This is where we're at. This is how much all this time, over a month, to get from 130 to 155. Poof, your next daily low. You got a daily low at 134.53. I know we're below that. Um, really like the 125 area, three lows at that area. But man, I mean, is there any bids in that thing, Dennis? I'm looking at it's just a step down seller at
So Ross has
132.34.
always been Ross like TJX, and the dips usually do get bought on something
Okay.
like this. This is not the day. This is not, maybe the dip gets bought eventually, and I think it does. I think you got lots of support from 125 to 130. This is like one of those retailers that does really well off price. Burlington, Ross, TJX. Those are your three big off price retailers. We know they've done really well because people go in there because they can get a deal. They're getting the stuff, cheap, a lot cheaper than you get at your department stores. So people are shopping there. They've been shopping there. As money gets tighter, they go to these kind of stores to shop. So there's a reason these stocks have held up so well. I mean, TJX was making new all-time highs 2 days ago. Ross Store is not far from it. So it gets harpooned. I do think there's underneath demand for a stock like this, though. So I don't know if this is the day for anything bouncing back. Maybe it is down 13%, but this would be one that I would actually have on my shopping list, as opposed to Deckers, which is, going to have a lot more trouble.
Yeah, and I think these both are way above the expected moves. So I mean, once again, how are you playing this? Did you take a shot? Oh, I'm going to buy the 145 puts. They're looking cheap. The weeklies that expire today. Well, that's a different situation. If you got a long-term short on this, you're the most bearish person. We got to rally, Dennis. Watch your offers a little bit. We're starting to rally. We're 20 handles off the low. Let's see, Apple just kind of hanging out, but we are showing some bids here in the pre-market. But that Ross Stores, Walmart's the one that kind of started this, and with saying, "Hey, well, we are, we aren't," but Walmart traded down a buck. You already had your news off this one. Boy, retail hell. I mean, that's really the only way to put it.
They're in the eye of the storm. They're in the eye of the storm, and that's going to continue to remain. Retailers have been in the eye of the storm for a long time, though. They were in the eye of the storm before tariffs came in, and tariffs are not going to help at all. So, again, we're just laying down the groundwork. We're laying down the information. You guys can make your own trading decisions off of this. I'm telling you, I'm not super big on buying the dip. Maybe on certain names, we'll be looking here, but overall, thinking, oh yeah, we're just going to shrug this off. We've been shrugging off a lot of stuff. This is a really tough headline to shrug off. So I don't think we shrug it off. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we do shrug it off again. Like, oh, it's just the art of the deal. It's not going to be 50%. And then we're setting up that we're going to get a 10% deal. The market's going to rally. Maybe deals coming, and that could drive us back. So that's the other, consideration here. He says,
"What, there deals coming? Didn't we hear about all these deals? When, like, we anticipation?"
There's 198 countries, so we got 196. The Penguins haven't made a deal yet, Joel. We're waiting on the Penguin deal. That is the risk to the bear thesis, is that more deals are coming and this market rallies tremendously on deals, because now he's just set it up. Well, EU 50%. Okay, well, if we get 10% or 20%, that's going to look pretty good. It's going to hit the economy in the second half, though, and I'm not sure that U.S. investors are prepared for more inflation. I'm not sure they're prepared for margins to get squeezed. But I think that is coming in the second half. But with that being said, you're set up here now. If you get 10%, maybe a pop up again. I'm using pops to raise more cash for the second half.
Okay, enough with the negativity. We got to go positive, right? And you do have a stock. It was making a new all-time high. So now we got to keep it's right at its all-time high. Let's go to Intuit and beat in a raise. 1165 versus 1091. Sales 7.75 versus 7.56. Guidance 19. Boy, they make some money. 1916, 1936 to 2007, 2012. They are beat in a raise, and folks, they could not stop buying this. 728.91 is your pre-market high. I just like where, to keep an eye where it's trading at right now because more liquidity is coming in. And if you've been waiting to sell this at the all-time high back in November of 2021 at 716.86, you may be getting that opportunity or into it. So big winner here, ignoring the market pressures, up 7%, 45.93, Dennis, into it, showing how it's done.
Yeah, all-time highs. What's not to like? We saw a snowflake yesterday not fall on their rally, so it held up. I mean, I'm not a chaser, so I'm not chasing anything here either. They said the tax season was great, so obviously Intuit helps a lot with that as well as obviously with website development as well. It's a big pop. 714 was the old high, so you kissed and went over it temporarily on Intuit. There is resistance up here. I'm just, not a buy the rip kind of guy, so I'm probably just out on it. I don't know if I necessarily short it because Snowflake didn't sell off yesterday on its either, so on its strong reports. So we're seeing some pockets of strength, and I still think, let's just back off the doom and gloom here for a second. I think AI plays a bigger role in all of this, in efficiencies. If Apple's to build iPhones in the USA, they're going to have a lot of automation to do it. They're going to have a lot of AI to do it. That can be, that isn't what
tomorrow.
It ain't gonna happen tomorrow. But I think looking down the road, I think it's going to create more efficiencies for these companies. So we got to consider that as well. That this isn't just about it's not just about human beings coming and doing these jobs. I think you're going to have a lot of automation. I think you're going to have physical AI doing these jobs in 5 years. It's a long ways down the road, but it's something to think about. And that story is not going away. This is not a bad headline for Tesla, really. Not really a bad headline for Tesla. Even though Tesla's down on it, you start thinking about the humanoid aspect and where they're going. I mean, humanoids solve a lot of these issues that we're talking about. They will work cheap. They are your cheap Asia worker. So there is that possibility that they could build these factories here. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a bunch of Americans sitting there, and putting together. It's going to be humanoids that probably do it if that comes to that. I think we're 5 years away from that. I don't think we're 1 year away from that. We're a long ways away from having, we're starting to see a little bit of automation. Obviously, we've had automation factories for a long time. It's going to be more. There's going to be more and more automation. So you got to think about those companies. That's where you want to invest in the next 5 years is automation, physical AI, humanoids, stuff like that. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to have my money for the next 5 to 10 years. It's all about AI. Laura, it's all about AI. So okay. On the dip, I think that's where you're putting, you're looking at these companies, these AI companies on the dip. I'm with you. I think, that's where I'm looking, to possibly put capital to work.
Okay, we do have some more earnings reports to go through, but someone thought they were going to have the day off today, but that's not the case. Mr. Fromhertz, Christian, how you doing today?
Yo, what's up, guys? Nice quiet morning going into a 3-day weekend. Nothing going on, right? Nothing. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, geez.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You got here, Apple, 25% tariffs for you. Europe, 50% tariffs for you. SP futures down 80 handles. Enjoy your long weekend. Enjoy.
Well, could you imagine, let's say you did take off, you're like, hey, I'm going to take off on Friday. I'm going to hit the road, and you're in your car, and, you get all these headlines, and you're swerving off the road. Listen, yeah. It's kind of just funny. You can't predict markets on a day-to-day. You can make adjustments, and I think that's important to kind of realize is that, that you can make adjustments as you go along, because we've got a pretty unpredictable tape. And maybe there's some things here that you can kind of pick away at. If you've been trimming a little bit over the last week or so, now you can kind of look to kind of add back if that's, if that's been your strategy. So, but yes, it's never dull. It's definitely not a dull day, not a dull morning so far.
So Christian, what do you do like as a trader? And obviously this, I don't know if you have any swing alongs or anything, but you're looking here and it's a calm morning and you're seeing some cool stuff, and all of a sudden you get harpooned for like 70 handles here. What do you do just in a hypothetical situation that you've got swing longs on? Do you like sell in the dip? Do you wait for a bounce? Like, how do you manage the risk when you all of a sudden have an 80-point sell-off out of nowhere?
I mean, in this sense, like I talked about, I think earlier in the week, I was talking about playing offense or defense if there's market dips. And I think I'm trying to remember what day it was where I think it was in the beginning of the week where we dipped a little bit. And I had talked about how I was playing a little bit more defense than offense. I sold a couple things to start the week. And I said, hey, now I want to be playing where I'm more playing offense when we have a market dip and attacking a little bit more rather than oh no, I've got too many positions on. And, the market has given us some subtle hints. I don't want to say that they're like huge hints, but, I think that the technicals as well as under the radar, when you look at market breadth has come in a bit, and so I think, like, I'm just going to share the screen just if I can kind of just illustrate what I'm referring to. Share screen, window, there we go. But I mean, if you are trend trading as I do, and depending on your time frame, I was just talking about this in my end of day video last night, and I said, depending on your time frame, you got a little bit of a sell signal. Sell signal was that we were moving above the 5-period moving average for the last month, and then we started to kind of break that, and that was on Wednesday, and this is the move in SPY breaking below the 5-period moving average. To me, that was a sense that, hey, something is changing, and then once you start to market dip as we did on Wednesday. Yesterday we had a very weak close, so there was no confirmation that anything was changing yesterday. So the momentum really started to wane, as the week went on. So there was your little bit of a signal, depending on, again, what your time frame of a trader is. But I do trade short term and midterm. I'm a swing trader, so I have to rely on some of these signals if I'm a swing trader, and that's what I did on Wednesday too. I took off. I talked with Joel about that, and I said on Wednesday I took off about three trades that I had on, and for swing trades. So that helps. That always, like, I'm never going to go 100% cash and say, I'm going to take off everything, especially when there was a lot of stocks that were acting really well yesterday. So it's tough. And, I talked about with like the quantum names that some of these things 40%, you have to decide whether or not you're going to just take these things for day trades, or if you're going to be in there and for swing trades. What I like to do is, if I can hit a couple targets that day, lock in some profits, and then I let the remaining of the trade ride as a swing trade.
Okay, so second question is, are you buying today's dip?
I'll be looking to kind of buy it. I mean, we're going into a 3-day weekend, so
yeah.
I will probably scale into a couple things that I want to be in. I mean, I just took profits in GEV pre-market before this headline came out.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
Do I want to go right back into GEV? I sold some at 468. It's trading it back down at 460. Like, yeah. I might. So today, like, anything that I do is going to be like of the nibbling nature, because it's just too hard with a 3-day weekend. I mean, I don't think that we're going to get much, I think that the damage is already done. But where are buyers going to step back in here? I don't have the answer to that. It's too short term to say before a 3-day weekend to do a lot. I think for now, you have to just understand, like, might go back to a little bit of a day trading market a bit. Going in, like I said, going into a 3-day weekend is a big thing, but you could now that we've kind of lost that upside momentum, bring up S&P futures. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like you don't want to do anything here, but you could basically want to be a day trader. So, and this was a level that I was highlighting too last night. I said, watch to see if we break this this level. We're just kind of teetering on it. So, yeah, and I'll be looking for more things that are like less tariff sensitive. Normally it would be things like Netflix, but they said that they're going to maybe tariff Netflix. But there's a couple things like that where
Well,
I would
Spotify
be.
too, and I just bought some Spotify pre-market.
There you go.
Here, just thinking that it's down 14 points here. This has kind of been a hiding place. I mean, if you look at Spotify during the tariff tantrum, it hardly went down. So now they're hammering Spotify because the algos just hit everything. But I just nibbled into some Spotify here pre-market, which I'll probably sell later, at the open if she bounces here. But, down 2.21%, down way more than the market, doesn't make much sense to me when that was a place to hide. So, we had that tariff-proof stuff like Take-Two, EA, that stuff there. And, is it really tariff-proof? Nothing's completely tariff-proof, but these stocks didn't really sell off much during the tariff tantrum, and they were the first ones to rally back. So, yeah, maybe we do look at some of these other names here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm going to wait to see how the open goes. Maybe we get another quick move down on the open. But yeah, I would be buying Spotify on this dip. I think that's a great trade. I've been watching this one. I actually posted a chart yesterday, and I was like, the dip is starting to get a little bit enticing. But it's not that hot. It's not that far off the off the highs, so it's not really a big market dip. But yeah, I would definitely be buying some of these things. I'll be with you on that. I'm probably going to buy a little bit of Spotify because I've been watching it. But yeah, you got a dip. I also want to watch how some names like the cyber names hold up. CrowdStrike is going to report earnings a couple days. Sorry, not a couple days, but a couple days into June. I think it's June 3rd. But this is another one I'll be watching. It hasn't been able to break higher. There's been other names in the cyberspace that have broken out. RBRK is one of them. I mean, it's been a heck of a move there in RBRK, which is also cyber software. But yeah, I want to see how CrowdStrike is going to handle this today. Are we going to see some buy the dip? And also, you don't have to be the first one in there. You could watch to see how things go. But yeah, I mean, CrowdStrike is basically just back to where it was like a day ago. So some of these things are not going to get hit as hard. Tesla got a street high price target. Wedbush is out there this morning. I sold Tesla in the beginning of the week. Here was my price target right at this 353. So I'm looking to watch to see if I want to get back into to Tesla here. You could see again, not that big of a move for Tesla, but there's going to be other things. What I always think when we've got a move like this, where futures are down big, you notice what names are not down that much versus what names. Usually the worst names get hit the hardest, and the better looking names, the stronger names, don't go down as much. So that's what I would be watching for today.
What are you doing for the long weekend?
Maybe getting some work done. I talked to Joel about that.
That's all we do is work. We'll take a break.
It has not been in Saratoga and in upstate New York. We have not had a dry weekend. I'm not talking about drinking. I'm talking about actual precipitation. There's not been a dry weekend since November. So it's been hard to get work done. I had some plans that got canceled this weekend, so I'm going to be chilling out. I'm not doing any major traveling, so I'll be watching. We got two good races. We got Monaco this weekend, so a nice Formula One tradition. We got the Indy small race called the Indy 500. I'll be watching, and maybe the Knicks. I feel like the Knicks got themselves. They did this to the Celtics where they were down 20 points, several games, and they came back. And I feel like what goes around comes around, as the Pacers did it to them, although in a more dramatic fashion. So I'll be watching some NBA playoffs.
One more, Christian, before you go.
Yes,
and there's no such thing as seller's remorse in this market, right?
That's right.
And you were trading that core weave, right? You were trading the momentum, and you said, I'm taking this off at $100. You said that, I'm going to do it. What, it trade up to 117 yesterday or something like that?
My sale finally looks good.
But this one, is this one that you're gonna let shake out down $4 a day after this massive run here? Or
Yeah.
I mean, okay, okay.
It's I'm going to let this shake out a little bit. Will I come back to it, in a couple days? These things, like, you could put these things on your watch list. You don't have to buy every dip. And I do think to me, that's such an aggressive move to get this thing where I sold, and here I'm saying, oh, geez, what a great trade. And then it goes up to 115. I mean, I don't want to say blow off top here, but I think it needs to consolidate a little bit. But, you know, this market also reminds me too of, like, it's been really tough for me to get into like real big position sizes, just knowing that what we're dealing with. And I know that you guys kind of cover this first. I mean, it is just a couple. It could, if you're really large with your positions and you get caught in something like this, it's tough to recover from. So I've been definitely participating on the way up, but I've been doing it where I'm not. I don't want to get outsized, because I think this is the way this market's going to go with the tariffs, and Trump is going to use this. I'm going to come at you with tariffs, and we're going to do 50%. It's a negotiating tactic, but that
sure.
may be all good and fine. That at the end of the day, it's not going to be 50% in Europe, but that doesn't help your portfolio if you got caught in a bunch of longs. So you got to play the game here a little bit and understand how he's negotiating.
All right, Christian. Thanks for coming out of the bullpen today and delivering up strikes to our crowd as usual. Enjoy the weekend. I'll be back on with you at 2 p.m. today to see where we're at in the markets. And
Sounds good.
yeah, great input. I just appreciate your approach to the markets. Christian Fromhertz, Tribeca Trade Group. I'm
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Okay.
Christian.
All right, let's get we still got earnings, Dennis. Did you think it would take this long to get to?
Joel, he went on mute again. I don't know. This mic just goes automatically on mute for him.
No, Dennis, it's work day. I got you.
Correct. You do it so much, it's not funny anymore, though.
Wait, Dennis, do you want me to get mad now, or do you want to wait until we get on STN?
Workday.
No, Dennis,
earnings.
I asked you a question. It wasn't a quiz. I told you what I did with my mic, with my headset. Do you remember?
No.
So I was going to go. I went to the store, not the one I bought it, and I was going to, this fancy Guitar Center. Brent, you would love this place. And all these amp and everything. And I'm like, hey, I need a new headset. And they're like, well, we only have the ones that you got to plug into the board. And I'm like, holy crap, I don't need that, right? And the guy said, very simple. He goes, have you updated the drivers on your headset? I'm like, really? I'm like, wow, what a simple idea. So I came home, went to the little icon that you have on the thing, and it said, do you want to update your drivers? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, worried I have to restart my computer and everything. And since that day, since I did that,
it worked.
I have not been, how I was like unplugging it. I couldn't figure out. I thought it was the port.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I did the workday on purpose. So that's your last lecture you're going to get for today.
Good stuff. Mike is fixed. I love it. I love when things work. So workday earnings, 223 versus 201, 2.24 billion versus 2.2 billion. That's all fine and dandy until you get to the revenue and the guidance. And the revenue guidance is light. And they don't like light revenue, especially when you trade with growthy multiples. So workday is down 23 points here this morning. Getting hit fairly substantially. CRM is a peer. CRM reports next week. It's down 2.56%, but obviously harpooned by the overall market as well. I don't know about the workday dip. Maybe. I like other dips. 205, 272, 50%. What would it be, Joel? Like 240-ish? 245?
Yeah, well, I'm going to look at, 50% would be a little bit lower than this, but there's a couple things here on workday. One, a trend we've been talking about, right? How big rally going into the report, consolidating. High bar. High bar for workday, right? Got to blow it away. Well, they didn't blow it away. Here you are with the guidance. I'm just looking at this pesky. I know you love that term. Look
I
at
like
this
the pesky.
250 area. Four tops, the great Detroit band, four tops at the 250, 251 area. That's where you broke out from. So will old resistance be new support? You have traded lower in the pre-market. Uh, Next daily low comes in at 245.95. I think if you want to hold out for that, go ahead. But I think if you get an open and then you get back above 250, I think you're going to be buying into a rising market there for workday. And then you said CRM. You said that wasn't moving much. Oh nope, CRM's down 7.25 off
Oh
this.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
getting a little sympathy move, but also getting harpooned by the overall market as well. But you got to keep that in mind here too. That CRM Workday was a spinoff of CRM. There's a lot of overlapping business there. So CRM trading down on it, does report next week. Some of these stocks have not come back nearly as far as others. I look at CRM in February. In January, it was $370. Went down in the tariff tantrum like 230. It's like 270. So you can see there is laggards, that have not come back, which is interesting because you think CRM has kind of got some AI in there too. So we had those Matthew McConaughey commercials were all AI for CRM. So lots to think about here. CRM
You know
dip
what?
maybe, but then it reports next week.
You haven't had a Benioff pump lately. A Benioff. Everything's going great. Could it be going better on
Well, that'll
CNBC?
be on Wednesday because he always goes on Mad Money
Okay.
when they report every single time. So he'll be on Mad Money. You can count on it on Wednesday night. And nobody talks the stock up better than Benioff. We're the best company ever. We're the best people ever. I have the best management ever. I have the best team ever. We're the best company. He always talks like that. It's a little bit nauseating.
Okay. Do we care about Autodesk?
You can say it,
ADSK?
sure.
Yeah.
It's up $6. It's the last of the companies that we're going to talk about to report here. ADSK reported 229 versus 215, 1.63 billion versus 1.61 billion. Guidance, slight raise. So slightly up on Autodesk. Stock had all kinds of just in consolidation station here. Resolves to the upside somewhat, 301. Not the best data, digesting those earnings though, and you got the markets down significantly here. I'm not going to be trading Autodesk. Are you trading Autodesk?
No. It's if it gets back up to the pre-market high of 314.96, I think you could thank your lucky stars. But I think it's important on this one. I'm going to focus more on holding the support here because you look at all those highs that you had in this area. So if this is good to go, if they like this support, if they like this report, really like this report, they're going to take it up to 310, 320. I think first things first, you got to build a base of support at all these former highs. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 highs. And I'm just going to ballpark at 297.5. That's what you got to hold. So not that far away from that. Autodesk up $6. All right, 854.
Upgrades, downgrades. I'll just give them
Yes.
to you quick. Barrett upgrades Wix.com, WIX. JP Morgan upgrades waste management to overweight. That's WM. Defensive stocks, so that could be interesting. Some of the defensive names, so let's just talk, that for a second here. Some of your defensive names are actually showing some life. Utilities are trading higher. Staples is trading higher. Classic risk off day. So that's good for the staples and good for the utilities. So you're seeing those stocks trade higher. Other upgrades, Erst Group upgrading Morgan Stanley. That's not much. Bank of America upgrading SWX to neutral. That's not much either. Let's go to the downgrades. I'm just going quickly here and looking through downgrades. There they are. Anything jumping out, striking my fancy? Not really. No.
I know what one you're
I don't
really.
really see much there. Decker's downgraded by KeyBank. Thanks, Key. A little late to the party. Chasing.
I know one you're really excited about.
Talk to me.
And it's an upgrade.
What?
SEDG.
I didn't even
Upgrade
have that one on my
up from
radar.
sell at Northland.
Yeah, Northland I'm not paying much attention to. Sorry, Northland. And SEDG. So that's a contrarian call. That's always good. But it's not, I think it's probably upgrade to neutral. So, so it's ringing the register more. We know solar got the crap kicked out of it yesterday. Some of them bounced a little bit. Best of breed first solar tried to bounce a little bit there. But ENPH, destroyed new 52-week low for ENPH. Wow, that's just stock is just a disaster. Nothing working in the favor of solar. You have the administration against it, you have interest rates against it, you have the economy against it. Solar is just in shambles.
Do you remember Northland Center?
That was the old Oilers, where the Oilers used to play. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I didn't know you knew
back
Oilers stuff, Joel.
no, Northland Center. It was built,
You're
open
talking
on March
in the D?
22nd, 1954. That was
Yeah.
even before I was born. And at the time, it was the world's largest shopping center and the first regional shopping center, Northland. It has now been torn down, but that's whenever I think of Northland Securities. That's what I think of.
Huh. It's a sad
Do we
story.
want to? I mean, like all this focus here and tariff tantrum and everything. We got a big earnings report next week. You want to finish up the show by
We get Monday off, and there's no reports obviously on Monday. But next week we have a pile of earnings to look at. Tuesday we're gonna get Okta, AutoZone as well. Wednesday is the day we get Nvidia, CRM, Viva Systems, Nutanix, HPQ, AI, Elf Beauty, Sentinel One. Thursday, Lululemon, Costco, Zscaler, Marvell, AMBA, Best Buy, Dell, Ulta, UiPath. Friday is really nothing, Shoe Carnival, but Nvidia. I mean, it's all about Nvidia. Nvidia's dipping here, obviously. It's been such a run for Nvidia, and I've bought this multiple times. Still a huge position in my long-term portfolio. I bought more when it dipped down to 92. I sold half of it when it ripped to 110 basically the next day when Trump kicked the 90 days down the road. I think if we get a dip on Nvidia back to the 110 area, I'd be a buyer. I mean, Nvidia is still in the best position. It's the best AI company. It's going to be in the middle of everything that this economy and world is moving towards. So it's hard to bet against Nvidia. I also say don't bet against Lisa Su. I think AMD eventually is going to show life here too. AMD at $100, I'd probably re-add. I'd probably add more. I've obviously been trading this a little bit. I'm still long in the long-term account. I think, if it got down to $100, I'd be interested in that one too. But Nvidia, is the bar high? Maybe. We're going to preview this obviously on Tuesday. I still think, AI is such a big piece of everything. It's hard to bet against Nvidia.
Okay. All right. We've covered a lot here on what was going to be a just slow Friday in the markets, but that's not the case. We're 16 handles above that pre-market low. So on days like this, I'd like to, mark your pre-market lows and see if they hold off the open. You probably have a nice rally if you can hold that beneath that low. In the S&Ps, just look for your daily lows and see where they come in, see if you find any buyers in that area. What else is there? Oh, Jim Tassone. You know where Jim's at today? I was texting him early this morning. He's in a softball tournament in Indiana, and it's 45 degrees out.
It's cold.
Yeah,
Cold.
at least
It's been so cold. Like it just won't warm up. And I was complaining about this yesterday. I mean, I went through 7 months of winter up here in Georgian Bay. And then I'm coming here and I'm looking at the weather report. And we're 40s this weekend. We're going to get into the 60s next week finally, but lots of rain in the forecast. I mean, it's been the crappiest spring too. We had 1 week where it got warm and that was nice. And I got out there in a t-shirt and shorts. But I mean, it is seasonally cold still. And then I look and do the math. And I'm like, okay, it's going into June. We're still cold. July, August, September, we start getting cold again. I'm like, I got like 2 months of like summer here happening now up here. I'm like, why in the hell do I live here in the north? I guess it's because I'm Canadian.
Okay, folks, that's it.
I will
this
say,
Friday.
Miss Unique says I should move to Florida. I will say, if we become the 51st state, I'm moving to Florida. A bit of a joke, but.
Okay, folks, wrapping it up on pre-market prep. Everyone have a great long weekend and hopping in the STN room. We'll be programming for the remainder of the day. See you guys on Tuesday.